We welcome you to Titans Tonight, presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners. Pinnacle Financial Partners is the official bank of the Tennessee Titans. Visit titansbanking.com to learn all about Pinnacle's winning plays. Pinnacle Financial Partners, member FDIC. Amy Wells on assignment tonight, so you have Keith Bulluck and myself, Mike Keith, with you. The football world is buzzing today because Bill Belichick, according to multiple reports, has agreed to terms to become the head coach at the University of North Carolina. Reportedly, 3 years, $30 million. Bill Belichick has never coached in college. His dad did. He's certainly been around it, but he has never been a college coach, and at age 72, he is going to take over for the departed Mac Brown as the man who runs football in Chapel Hill. As you hear that, Keith Bulluck, having been a college football player at what is now an ACC school, and following the game as you have, you're still working with young men in the Elite 11 and the different things that you've done, and certainly spending over a decade in the NFL, having played against Belichick. What do you think?
I think, well, first and foremost, good for him. You know, he still has the knack to coach and getting this opportunity. I'm just curious to how it's going to go. He didn't really seem – well, I would say like this. Back when I was in college, I think a Bill Belichick style could have – like Bill Belichick as we have known him to be the New England Patriots head coach, you know, real strict, the stickler, all of those things. It kind of reminds me of playing for, you know, a Paul Pasqualoni, you know, back in the day. In my day. Back in your day.
We got that in when we're 2 minutes and 44 seconds into the show.
But, yeah, Bill Belichick, I don't know how he translates to this generation's kid. You know, he was coaching men, and now you have to coach kids, like 17 to 21, and you have to have some type of compassion. Like, you have to find that balance. You know what I mean? I've built a relationship with Fran Brown, the head coach for Syracuse, and, you know, just hearing the way that he speaks to his team, he speaks to them very sternly, but then there's a balance. But he has been in college the last 6-7 years, you know, not in the NFL the last 27 years. So I don't doubt Coach Belichick's, you know, obviously you can't doubt his coaching. It's just a matter of how does he relate to this era's teenage young man.
How much does he have to change his personality and his coaching style?
You know what? I don't know, because just from the outside looking in, it would seem like he's going to have to change a lot. I would love to hear what some of his other players, you know, think, just because of his approach. I know the approach that you have to take in the NFL to win so many games, to keep the system that he had for so long. And knowing players that played for him, it was a no BS type situation, you know. If you couldn't hack it, you're out. He's looking to cut people left and right. You know, some of the great players in, you know, the NFL have gone there towards the end of the day. I remember speaking with Reggie Wayne specifically. He was like, man, I was just too old for doing all that. Like, you know, for the demands that were still there even on veteran players. And that was to obviously keep the standard that they have had at New England the whole time he was there. But now, coaching these kids that are getting NIL that you have to relate to in your 60s or 70s, yeah, good luck.
72.
Yeah, good luck. Look, man, good luck.
I mean, his girlfriend's 24.
Yeah,
if you believe what you read, so he
might just be on campus looking for.
No, I'm just saying he obviously has a connection with young people. If that's the truth, I mean that's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right?
I would say so.
I would say so.
Let's see how it translates.
All right. So let me throw out a scenario to you. Bill Belichick goes to North Carolina. He secures $20, $30 million in NIL money. He goes absolutely bonkers into the transfer portal and adds almost a new team, or certainly key members of what will be the 2025 North Carolina Tar Heels. And that's how he chooses to do it for however long he's going to be there. He recruits because, he will recruit high school players. But you don't sense that he's going to be as much of the salesman on that end. It would feel like he would take or be interested in taking some guys that are a little older and that have made some mistakes already, potentially, on the field, maybe even off, but guys who have something already in their bucket a little bit so he doesn't have to start from scratch. Does that scenario make sense to you?
It makes a lot of sense to me. It makes sense to me that he would, have a younger coaching staff, probably in their 30s, 40s, that can obviously bridge that gap. It also seems as if, and I don't know if this is true, it seems as if he's, kind of conditioning and grooming that position for his son to take over. So I wouldn't be surprised if he took, more of a backseat role.
Well, now, not to interrupt, but his son Steve was at Washington this past year. He spent time there, and if you believe some of what's being reported, and then also some of what he has said, he really enjoyed being around the college game at UW more than he thought he would.
Nice. Well, I mean, look, it's a new landscape for him, and that's something we do know. And we know Coach Belichick is very intelligent. He's been showing his personality a lot the last several months since he's been retired on a lot of these different shows. He's been on the Manning cast on Monday nights. He's been doing Inside the NFL. So he's made himself very open and vulnerable, and I think it's been a good thing. So I think with those things that he's added to life after football, it's given people an opportunity to kind of see who he is, more of a person. He's showing a little more personality.
He loves college towns. He loved Annapolis when his dad was there. And Chapel Hill is a fabulous college town.
Yes.
I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, you can get a great adult beverage. You can get a great meal. There are places to shop. There are all kinds of places to walk. It's really – and where I would guess he will live will be in the area not too far off campus to where he'll be able to enjoy Franklin Street and a lot of the wonderful things in that particular area. It's fantastic. They have a very good athletic director. His name is Bubba Cunningham. Bubba Cunningham is a former Notre Dame golfer. He was the athletic director at Tulsa before he went to North Carolina in 2011. He will give him every resource he needs to be successful in terms of how the game works, the game of college athletics. So, I mean, people don't see Carolina as a football school, and of course it's not. It's Dean Smith and Roy Williams and Michael Jordan and Sam Perkins. And I mean, we get it. I mean, it's the Tobacco Road, 8 miles from Duke. I mean, we get it. It's also a place that is the home of fantastic women's sports. The two highest paid NIL athletes on that campus are female. One is a soccer player where they've won 8 million national championships, and the other is a lacrosse player. They have tremendous baseball as well. I mean, a lot of incredibly successful sports under Bubba Cunningham. So if Bill thinks he needs anything, Bubba Cunningham will go get it for him. And I'm not just saying financially. He will make sure that all of the ins and outs are there. I think the biggest thing that stands out to me for Bill is guys having to go to class.
Yeah, like I say, there's a lot of things that come with college sports. And, like was fortunate enough to spend some time around, a couple of college football teams, Syracuse and TSU, for a week. Although school wasn't in, the coach still has to deal with off the field things. Did this kid get his scholarship, or like things I wasn't even thinking of when it came to being in football camp in August, like the things I was coming across Eddie's desk and Coach Fran Brown's desk, the things that had absolutely nothing to do with X's and O's. And that's why that new position, general manager position, has been added to college football coaching staffs. And they're like the buffer between all those things that have nothing to do with the X's and O's and the head coach.
Well, one of the changes now is not only are guys already in the transfer portal, some of the teams in the college football playoff have already lost players to the transfer portal, so they're not going to be as deep in the college football playoff, which seems crazy. It would be like free agents leaving NFL teams before the playoffs started, which makes no sense. But the other thing you have, too, is you have people calling on behalf of players saying, if so-and-so doesn't go from $500,000 to $1 million NIL next year, he's moving on. And,
I heard about this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is definitely an agent culture in all of that. And what it's going to mean, the general manager position is going to be so big and so important because you are going to have to make an evaluation of the player, an evaluation about what that player is worth. And you're going to have to say, well, we're going to move on. We've got another guard who can step in. We've got another defensive end. We've got another safety, whatever the position. And we're going to move on. Coaches, of course, want to keep everybody. That's how that's how college coaches are. I don't think Belichick's going to have that problem.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? And it's interesting. I think, well, the two coaches I know Eddie's situation, and we actually spoke about it because I asked him, like, Coach, what do you do when kids want to leave? He's had a kid that, he's had since he was a freshman. Now he's an All-American. He's had a freshman come in who's a freshman All-American. So these are the things that he's dealing with. And his whole thing is like, look, that's his job as a coach, to provide opportunity for these young men to become better and get better opportunities. But then he also said that, look, if it's like a real opportunity, then definitely take it. Now, if you're, can go to LSU, or if you can go to, a Power 5 school or as the school of your dreams, make it happen. But if it's just moving landscapes and playing the same level of football, you've been building something here since you were here. So I think there's that piece of it where the coach, if he's been there long enough, knows their players and can, have that conversation. But, for some kids, money talks, and then, okay, you go for the money, and then, you get hurt and you don't have the tutelage and the knowledge. I know one thing, Bill Belichick ain't going to pour into these kids like some of these other coaches will. I don't really think that, this is what I would say, that's the piece we'll have to see, because that compassion piece has to be there for college kids, because at the end of the day, if I'm sending my 17, 18-year-old kid to you, Coach Belichick, who can I expect him to be when he's 22? And I don't know how Bill Belichick speaks to that point. Football is one thing, but at the end of the day, not every high school kid that goes to college is going to the NFL, and they have to be, you want them to be some type of, upstanding citizen in the community when they're done if they don't. So it's a bunch of challenges that go into that.
Okay, I'm going to throw a scenario out at you that was given to me. I think it's fascinating. And I've been dying to ask you for several hours since this was mentioned to me.
Let's go.
All right. So Bill Belichick is 15 wins short of breaking Don Shula's record for the most wins in NFL history. He's cognizant of that because he spent nearly 50 years in the NFL total. He knows and respects history. And so there has got to be some meaning in there. as he evaluated the landscape of the NFL, he either did not think the jobs that were coming open fit him, the organizations maybe didn't fit him, or he didn't think those organizations would be interested in him, or a combination of both, which is one of the reasons that he took a college job. He didn't want to be off the market 2 years in his 70s at this point. Now, this is a scenario. I'm just throwing it out. What happens? He's introduced. They have the press conference. Bubba Cunningham puts the jersey out there. Belichick won. You get to be at the place. He gives a speech, and he mentions Choo-Choo Justice and Lawrence Taylor and Amos Lawrence and all the great players who've played at Carolina, and it's a wonderful moment. And then the first week in January, an NFL team calls him. He won't have signed his contract by then. He'll have a memo of understanding. There would be no contract. The question that I was asked today by somebody, throwing all that out, is it possible in your mind, knowing what you know about him, that Bill Belichick never coaches a game at North Carolina?
Oh, yeah, I think it's possible just based upon what you said. I think this could be like, look, what, Bill, you said he's 72, 73?
72.
So at the end of the day, he's been playing chess the whole time. So, okay, North Carolina, great. Whatever I got to say about that. And then some owners like, wait, what? Bill? For real? Get Bill on the phone. Bill, what's going on with this North Carolina situation? Kicking the wheels. I don't want to be on the shelf for 2 years like Mike Keith just said. So I'm going to go through this college thing. Because I've been thinking, and that's all he needs is a I've been thinking with the right situation.
Well, I'm not saying I think he's sincere. I think he wants to do. Now, I don't know him
with the
personally,
right situation,
but I think he wants to be Carolina's coach. I think he
sounds good.
I think it does sound good, but I think that's what he wants to do. I think in his heart he wants to coach ball. I think he's intrigued by all of it. I think Carolina is an intriguing place, and so that I just sort of come clean on this. My son went to North Carolina.
Yeah.
My son is a graduate of the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So I've spent a lot of time on that campus. I've watched a football game with Bubba Cunningham before. I know him a little bit and was really impressed with him and the whole staff. So I have a little bit of knowledge about why you would love Carolina. If anybody offered you a job at Carolina and you went there and you had Michael Jordan's favorite, which is a chicken biscuit at Sunrise Biscuit Kitchen. It is his favorite. He gets it every time. If you had the food, if you hung out there, if you went to a basketball game, you would know. But I also wonder if a job that no one anticipated coming open comes open, and they pick up the phone and they call him and they say, we know you haven't signed your contract. Because, again, that never happens right away. Lawyers got to do their thing. Sometimes coaches go through their entire first year not having signed their contract.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's working pro bono. I would say like this. You get to a certain age, and we're of that age where, look, we live life with a purpose. You have some type of purpose. What would his purpose be to go to North Carolina if, in fact, he can come back to the NFL and possibly sign a 3-year deal to get 15 wins? Because my purpose, if it's right there in reach, and if I could, and if it was physically possible, and I needed 20 tackles to break the all-time record, at 40, I'm coming back. You know what I mean? If it was physically possible. It's
like
impossible.
Bruce Smith did.
Yeah, it's impossible. But that being said, anything is possible for Bill Belichick in that situation to get those 16 wins that he needs to become the all-time winningest head coach, and I'm all for it. I'm here for it.
Well, I mean, he has created a firestorm today.
Let it play out.
Listen, here's what I believe, too. I don't know who's really going to be good in the ACC next year. in truth, I can't tell you who all is even in the ACC now.
Syracuse is.
The Syracuse is, and Fran's done a good job, and they open with Tennessee.
We'll wait on that. We'll wait till you guys finish your
and Atlanta.
We'll wait up till you guys finish your – what are you guys, the tournament? In the tournament?
In the tournament, yeah.
Wish you well.
Thank you.
Yep.
But that's Vols and the Orange open up next year. So
yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll have plenty of time. All right, but I don't think anybody believed it could really happen.
I didn't when I first heard it.
I didn't at first because he's such a pro guy. But then in thinking about it, and then what he did on Pat McAfee's show too.
I missed it.
Well, what he did, I mean, he just talked about why he would be interested. And it's like, this isn't a line.
He's just greasing the wheels, man. He's greasing the track.
Well, remember, he quit on the Jets before he ever coached a game.
Yep.
I don't know. That was just raised to me. What do I know?
We don't know.
We don't know. But the only thing I know is Carolina's a great place. All right, we need to get a break. Keith Bulluck and I could hash this out all night. But when we come back, we're going to test Keith Bulluck's knowledge of Titans history. Are you ready for a test?
Yeah, you're the best, but let's try.
All right. Titans Tonight with Keith Bulluck, presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners, continues on Titans Radio. The Tennessee Titans play the Cincinnati Bengals this Sunday, 12:02 kickoff at Nissan Stadium. Titans Radio on the air at 11 a.m. Central. We'll be there. Bengals are 5-8. Titans are 3-10. A lot of things to discuss about this game with stats, but one thing that jumps out to me is as we continue Titans Tonight with Keith Bulluck, presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners, Tony Pollard is 63 yards away from 1,000 yards rushing. So here's the trivia question for Keith Bulluck.
Oh, man.
If when Tony Pollard gets the 63 yards, Tony Pollard will become the 8th Tennessee Titan to rush for 1,000 or more yards. Keith Bulluck, can you name the other 7 Tennessee Titans, not Houston Oilers or Tennessee Oilers, Tennessee Titans, to rush for 1,000 yards?
So Eddie doesn't count, right?
Tony doesn't count.
Eddie doesn't count.
Well, no, Eddie counts.
What do you mean Tony Pollard? Oh, he doesn't count because he hasn't done it
He hasn't done it yet. He'll be the 8th. There are 7.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay, good.
Eddie
George multiple times, correct.
Radio. Oh, my bad. Chris Brown.
Chris Brown is correct. 2004.
Lindell,
he did it once. 2007, correct.
Sheesh. CJ2K.
CJ2K did it 6 times, correct. You're at 4.
4?
4.
I need how many?
7.
Sheesh. DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray is correct. 2016, rushed for
5.
1287.
Whoa. Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is correct. He did it multiple times.
6.
6.
I'm missing 1.
1.
Chris. Dang, bro.
If you're ready for a hint, you've done.
I don't want a hint yet.
Okay, you've done incredibly well.
Yeah, I need. Wait, what? Damn, I need a hint.
Ready?
Yeah.
He was a teammate of yours.
I ran for 1,000 yards?
Yes. And he has the same last name as another guy on this list.
I don't even care.
You do care.
I mean, I care for your answer. I don't care to guess anymore.
2006?
Skip, no.
Not Skip Hicks.
2006, right after Eddie. Radio, Chris Brown was still here. Travis Henry.
Travis Henry is correct.
I'm sorry, T-Hen. Dang. That's one of my favorite Vols, too. Dang, I should have got that. T-Hen was a beast. That was one of the, CJ season, the 2K season, just because, he ran for 2,000. But Travis Henry's season, playing that year, it kind of stunk in the beginning, but like it turned out. That's why you got to let it play out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so if these Titans go on like a 4-game win streak, it might like stunk in the beginning, but you played for something at the end.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you made it fun, and you probably ruined some people's season, and you could talk your talk going into next year.
Okay, so I'll repeat it. Since they became the
I forgot CIN.
Since they became known as the Tennessee Titans in 1999, 7 players have rushed for 1,000 or more yards. The list includes Eddie George multiple times, Chris Brown in 2004, Travis Henry 2006, Lendale White 2007, Chris Johnson every year from 2008 through 2013, DeMarco Murray in 2016, and then Derrick Henry multiple times. So Tony Pollard with 63 yards can become the 8th.
Tony Pollard does his thing, man. I've never met him to kind of like size him up, but I know he can't be that big. And, you know, he runs between the tackles. He runs outside. He changes gears. You know what I mean? He'll like he has patience to, you know, go slow and then hit the seam when he needs to. A great bright spot for this offense. Someone that's always consistent. And, you know, it's hard to you know, run for 100 yards every week in this league. So what I like about him, and he's multi-dimensional. You can put him out, and he can catch the ball as well. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think all the things that he's done this year, he's definitely earned his keep.
I was a fan when he was at Memphis, and then I was really a fan I wanted the Titans to draft him.
I had him on my fantasy team 2 years ago.
I know. I mean,
that was his big year.
He went to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that's the year I had him.
And I just really liked him. I thought he was a good player, and I thought, man, he would be the greatest compliment to Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And this was obviously 5 years ago, and then he went to Dallas, and I was kind of sick about that. But I pulled for him because, you know, he's from Memphis, and he's obviously we get to know him too. He's a really good guy and a really hard worker, and he is one of the bright spots of this year. There are some. I mean, Tony Pollard is. Nick Westbrook-Akine is. I think there have certainly been some guys on defense. Arden Key has been, and Harold Landry doing his thing. Amani Hooker, who's having a very good year. But Tony hopefully will reach that 1,000-yard mark.
I think he'll get it by the second half. He'll have it in the first half.
Well, you know, the Bengals have trouble stopping the run. Did you know that?
I did not.
Giving up 130 yards per game rushing.
Yeah, so he'll get that in that first half. Get that 63. That's halfway there to their average.
Well, I mean, Tajay will probably get some too. Tajay Spears. He's finally healthy. That guy needs a break. He has gotten no break at all this year.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you know, he comes in last year behind King Henry, and that's inevitable. So, all right,
sure.
I'll take what I can get. He comes in this year with an opportunity to play a bigger role, and it starts out like that, but then he gets hurt, and then Tony Pollard, you know, put it on his back and is running away with it. So now you're in a position where he has to play a role where he's spelling, and obviously we as fans and he as a player saw more for himself, but that's the league, man. Once you get hurt and you get behind that 8 ball, it's kind of tough to kind of get back into the flow of things, especially when the team isn't playing so well. Because It's like, okay, you want to get into the flow, you want to help, but then you don't even know where you're supposed to help because there's so many things going on. And, you know, first things first, you want to make sure you're doing your job right. So, yeah, it's all a catch-22.
A break and then back with more. Keith Bulluck is here for Titans Tonight, presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners on Titans Radio. Amy Wells on assignment tonight. It's just Mike Keith. Thank you, Rhett. We appreciate you.
I'm here too.
Well, he said that.
All right, I'm making.
You were busy doing something else. I mean,
you know what?
You got things going.
You got me, Mike.
I got. Rhett mentioned Jamar Chase, 93 catches, 1,319 receiving yards, 15 touchdowns. So he leads the league in all of those categories: receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He would be the 5th Triple Crown winner since the 1970 merger. The list of winners, the other four interesting, Jerry Rice in 1990, no surprise.
Right.
At some point you would think he would be on the list for all the great years he had. Sterling Sharp, 1992.
That's my guy.
Man, when he was playing for the Green Bay Packers, he was crazy good. Steve Smith Sr., 2005.
The dog.
And then the most recent one, Cooper Kupp.
Coop.
2021. So Jerry Rice, Sterling Sharp, Steve Smith Sr., and Cooper Kupp have all been Triple Crown winners for receivers since the merger, leading the league in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. If Jamar Chase does this at the age of 24,
wow,
he will be the youngest player to win the receiving Triple Crown since Hall of Famer Don Hudson.
How many years has he been in? He's only 24?
Yeah. This is only his fourth year.
I thought it was like his fifth or sixth.
I know. Don Hudson was 23 years old in 1936.
1936?
The Alabama Antelope.
Yo, so I can't – man, that's like winning the Offensive Player of the Year in your contract year.
Yeah. I mean –
just give me the bank.
Well, I mean, he has a 264-yard receiving game this year.
Wow.
And this past Monday night, Rhett mentioned 14 catches for 177 and 2 touchdowns against Dallas.
264.
Yeah.
He's putting up crazy numbers.
Like Flipper Anderson numbers almost.
They call him Flipper. So you know what? Oh, man. That puts well, obviously, puts a lot of pressure on the secondary just for the simple fact that they have another guy on the other side, and T. Higgins. So even, watching, I actually did tune into some of that Monday night game. It just seemed as if, like, I would have expected Diggs to match up because that's his,
Right, but he's been hurt.
Yeah, and you don't want to put your reputation on the line. I get it. But, yeah, even so, like, he still finds ways to be wide open. So
you can't figure out how – well, like on the last touchdown, he catches what I guess was
a hitch,
and he turns down the field, and the guy can't tackle him, and then there's nobody there. How do you not double him?
You know what? Maybe hopefully Denard has something up his sleeve because – you know what? And then the thing is, I saw what Joe Burrow said after that. Oh, we saw man-to-man. He's playing off. So I just threw it to him and get it to him with enough time to make a play. So that's just the connection. And they've been playing together for like 6-7 years, and they're in their 24.
I know. And remember, here's the interesting thing about –
and they talk crazy to each other. They talk to each other like brothers.
Right.
Like how you're hearing about the thing that's going on in Philly with AJ.
Yeah.
And, who cares? That's their business. But Joe Burrow and I've heard, Jamar Chase have had similar things, excuse me, but I think what allows them to kind of breeze through it is the relationship that they had in college, because I saw an interview where – I guess it was a cold game, and Jamar had on, like, cold skin.
Right.
And then Joe walked past him, and he's like, man, take that off, or I'm not throwing you the ball. And he went and wiped it up. They have reporters like, well, what'd you do? He's like, I went and wiped it up. Joe said he's not going to throw me the ball.
Well,
that's respect.
And he's blunt. Joe's blunt.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's respect. And most good quarterbacks are. Like, they're going to take control.
Yeah, somebody made a comment. I can't remember where I read it. Maybe Brian Callahan said that Joe Burrow is going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, and Joe Burrow said, yeah, that's probably right.
And it's like,
man. Whoa.
Right?
Well, Joe Burrow is kind of one of those crazy athletes, too. He was, like, good at everything he played coming up. I think he's an all-state point guard, and, I mean, just must be nice.
So, to what Callahan said and to how he is like, yeah, it sounds like, knowing that he was at Ohio State, and then you can see him at LSU, and you've seen him get drilled and spilled a few times in college and come back. He's gonna ball, and then in the league to hear his former coach say that, and he says that. What I notice about Joe Burrow, he's focused on football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't see him in like doing anything outside of football.
Except buying a Batmobile.
Buying a Batmobile and driving around his cul-de-sac, I guess. But, he's really into football. He's bought into whatever's going on up there, and he wants to, what Ray Lewis, what's his name, pissed off for excellence?
Mm-hmm. For greatness.
Greatness.
Yeah. But that's the thing about Joe is Joe wants to be a great. And, I mean, he had the greatest season in the history of college football for a quarterback. Crazy. 60 touchdown passes. And
was it 60?
Well, I mean, listen, that LSU team was as dominant a college football team as there was. I mean, you couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
And their defense, they run out. These receivers they run out there, it's crazy. I mean, remember, Chase didn't even play the 20 season. He sat out. And everybody's like, oh, it's going to affect his draft stock. No, it didn't.
At all.
He went top 5, and then he comes out and he does this. And, I mean, what he's done so far is just nuts.
And he's a hard cover because he's 6'4", and he's kind of big. He's, he might be all of about 215, 220. You know what I mean? So with that, he's getting those DBs up off him for real.
He, Sterling Sharp type. Sterling Sharp was thicker, and I don't think he was quite that tall. But that play strength, that was something that Brian Callahan talked about on his radio show on Monday night, was the incredible play strength that Chase has. All right, so you're going against a quarterback and a receiver both playing at MVP levels, and they're on the same page. They don't just date back 4 years in the pros. They date back to college. As a defender, what do you have to do well for the Titans against these two on Sunday?
Well, first and foremost, it has to start up front. We got to get pressure on Joe Burrow. And unfortunately, what I did notice about Joe Burrow, the Cowboys were getting pressure on him on Monday night, but he has a good sense of pocket awareness to step up, and he creates time. It's like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then he's already on the move, it seems like, because he's anticipating that, so Big Jeff and those guys are going to have to bring it. I think the D-line, they put a lot of pressure on themselves to perform, and I think this will be a great game for them to go out there and get after it, because it doesn't matter the record. Each week possesses and poses a different challenge, and this challenge is to get after one of the top offenses in the league, just because you're getting this opportunity to match up against a Jamar Chase. You're getting an opportunity to match up against Joe Burrow and everything that the Cincinnati Bengals bring to the town as a team. Throw records out. You always want to play against the best, and you want to put your best performance better. And this is the way that, a young, Brownlee can put his name on the map. Because at the end of the day, you want them to know your name when the game is over. You want to become a household name, and the way you do that is to make plays against those people that are already household names.
Well, the trouble with Cincinnati is they've also got T. Higgins.
Yep.
They've got Yoshivash, the receiver. Well, they have tight ends as well. I mean, Jasicki is there now, and they've Tanner Hudson, who's from Big Sandy, Tennessee, is there part of their team now. And, I mean, Chase Brown is a good pass catcher out of the backfield.
I think you do whatever you can do to not let Jamar Chase beat you. You know what I mean? Obviously, they have all these other weapons, but make Joe, make
Higgins.
Somebody else. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It's tough, but that's the challenge. And I think after last week, the defense is looking for another challenge. I think the defense has a game to build on. The offense wants to, get in the red zone. Let's be more effective. They did a good job moving the ball last week, but let's put some points on the board and help our defense out.
You realize this defense for Tennessee has 8 games where they've held the opposition under 300 yards.
That's good. That's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when, you're not getting the point production that you would anticipate, that means you're keeping your team in the game as best as possible. You know, you always have a shot in the fourth quarter when it comes to those type of statistics.
Well, if you don't score this week, you're not going to win. Because, I mean, this bunch, Cincinnati lost the opener, and how they lost to New England 16-10, I have no idea. But then they lost to Kansas City 26-25. Kansas City has an outstanding defense. They lost to Washington 38-33.
Sheesh.
They beat Carolina 34-24. They lost in overtime to Baltimore 41-38. They won at the Giants 17-7, at Cleveland, and Cleveland has a very good defense, 21-14. Lost to Philadelphia 37-17. Philly plays good defense. And then beat Vegas 41-24. Lost to Baltimore 35-34. Lost to the Chargers 34-27. Lost to Pittsburgh 44-38.
They don't have a problem scoring.
They don't have a problem scoring. And then beat Dallas on Monday night 27-20. So they are given a minuscule chance of making the playoffs right now at 5-8. But they have Tennessee, then they have Cleveland, and that's Thursday night football. And so then they have 10 days off before they host Denver. Denver has a nice team, but it's a home game for Cincinnati. And then they end at Pittsburgh, who may or may not need that game at the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm counting on my fingers. Those are all AFC games, and those, besides the Titans game, they're all versus playoff teams.
Right.
So, you know, besides Cleveland as
Cleveland's
well.
Not.
But AFC wins are huge, especially a division for them. Well, good for them.
Yeah, so the Titans better be a roadblock. A break. Back with more Titans Tonight with Keith Bulluck, presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners on Titans Radio. Titans Tonight with Keith Bulluck, continuing on Titans Radio from here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Miss Amy Wells tonight. She promises she will be back next week, and she apologizes for being on assignment, Keith. She was very disappointed.
It's all good. We know she's a hard worker.
She's a hard worker, undoubtedly. Titans and the Bengals on Sunday. Kickoff set for 12:02. Titans Radio on the air at 11 a.m. Central Time with Rhett Bryan, Amy Wells, Brad Willis, Ramon Foster, and a cast of thousands on the award-winning Titans Countdown. We hope you'll join us for that on 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. And
I do every Sunday.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, they appreciate it. They do an awfully good job.
I always catch the, catch the pregame.
Yes.
And then I always get the last few weeks. It's been Kickoff. I catch the first two series.
Oh, you listen on the radio? Well,
yeah.
thank you.
I'll sit in the car.
We hope people listen to the radio. And, you know, our audience actually goes up. We try to repeat the score and sort of do a reset more because we know in December more people are listening to the radio because they're out doing Christmas things.
Right.
You know, you're shopping, you're taking, little Timmy to the Christmas pageant, or, you're doing this and you're doing that at church or whatever. And so our audience goes up.
When I always I don't like it, but it's always when other team scores, the way you announce it. It always cracks me up.
It's less enthusiastic.
Yes, to say the least.
I hope it's professional.
No, 1,000% is.
It's supposed to be professional, but it is.
It's almost like, who cares?
No, I would say who cares. Well, maybe. I mean,
no,
if it's Jacksonville,
the monotoneness of it is.
It does sort of hit a monotone level.
It's pretty funny.
Of the whole thing. It's certainly not when the Titans score, but hey, this week let's score.
Yes, let's
come
do
on.
It.
How about 5 or 6 touchdowns?
Let's get some sacks.
I love that too. Joe Burrow will take a sack now. Keith Bulluck, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Thanks to all of you for being part of Titans Tonight, presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners. Good night, everybody.